Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going deep into microtubules, these tiny structures in our cells that, well, they might be more important than we thought, especially when it comes to energy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. This new research, electronic energy migration in microtubules, it's got everyone talking.
And we wouldn't be the deep dive if we didn't bring in some bigger questions, right?
Yeah.
So we're also looking at this Forbes article, testing a time-jumping, multiverse-killing, consciousness-spawning theory of reality. Bit of a mouthful, I know.
Definitely catchy, though. But the connections are there, trust me.
All right, so microtubules. For anyone who hasn't encountered these before, what are we even talking about?
Okay, so picture a city, right? You need roads, bridges, all that to keep things moving. Microtubules, they're like that, but for your cells.
The infrastructure base.
Exactly. They give the cell its shape, they move stuff around, even help with cell division. Super important.
And these tubes, what are they made of? What's the material?
It's a protein, tubulin. Think of it like Lego blocks linking up to make these long, hollow tubes.
So not just static scaffolding, then. This research we've got, it implies these microtubules are moving energy around.
And doing it really well, yeah. It's called excitant diffusion. Imagine like a line of dominoes. You knock one over, the energy passes down the line. That's the basic idea.
So energy hopping from molecule to molecule along these microtubule highways.
You got it. And the crazy part is how far it can go. Way further than anyone expected, especially based on the old models.
Okay, hold up. Old models like what? And why is this finding such a big deal?
Right. So there's this thing called Firster theory. It's been the go-to for decades to explain energy transfer between molecules. But this research, microtubules are breaking the rules. The energy's traveling much farther than Firster theory says it should.
So we've got these structures we thought were basic, but they're acting like, what, super efficient energy conduits.
It's a game changer. Think about it. Like harvesting tech, solar panels, things like that. Imagine the efficiency we could achieve if we understood this process.
Okay, that's huge. But, and there's always a but, it seems this is where it gets even weirder. Anesthesia. Somehow that's connected to microtubules.
Yeah, it's a curveball, right? They found that these common anesthetics, stuff they use in surgery, it actually messes with this energy transfer in microtubules.
How did they even stumble upon that? It seems completely out of left field.
It's like a happy accident, you know? But it's what ties into that Forbes article, the Orch OR theory. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, so Orch OR. For those of us who don't spend our days in theoretical physics land, what's the deal with this theory?
Well, basically, it says that microtubules, these tiny tubes we're talking about, they might be involved in, get this, consciousness.
Hang on, back up. Microtubules, the things in our cells, and consciousness. Am I hearing this right?
It sounds crazy, but that's what Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, the guys behind this theory, are proposing. They're saying these microtubules might be more than just scaffolding. They might be part of what makes us, well, us.
This is definitely a lot to process. Microtubules, consciousness, now we're throwing in anesthesia. It's like a sci-fi movie plot.
I know, right? But there's actual science here. And to understand it, we got to talk about quantum mechanics a little bit.
Oh boy, quantum mechanics. I can already feel my brain starting to melt.
Yeah.
But I guess we can't avoid it, can we?
Nope, it's all connected. But don't worry, I'll keep it simple.
Okay, good. So quantum mechanics. Hit me with it. What is it and why does it matter for this whole microtubule thing?
So imagine the tiniest stuff in the universe, like way smaller than atoms. Quantum mechanics is the rule book down there, and it gets weird.
Weird how? Give me an example.
Okay, think about a coin spinning in the air. Until it lands, it's both heads and tails at the same time, right? In the quantum world, things can be blurry like that.
So instead of one thing or another, it's a mix of possibilities until something makes it decide.
Exactly. And get this. Two particles can be linked even if they're miles apart. Like imagine you have two gloves, one goes to your friend across the country. You instantly know which hand their glove fits even though you didn't tell them. That's entanglement.
Weird, right?
Okay, that's just wild. But how does any of this relate to our brains and consciousness?
That's where Orch OR comes back in. It says that consciousness might come from these quantum processes happening inside microtubules, specifically those tubulin proteins.
So our brains are using quantum mechanics to create consciousness. That's the theory, at least.
That's the gist, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a theory, but this research, the energy transfer, the anesthesia connection, it all gives us ways to maybe, just maybe, test it. Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got microtubules, these tiny things in our cells, maybe acting all quantum-like, and they might be involved in consciousness. And the drugs we use to knock people out during surgery They mess with these same microtubules.
You got it. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff, right? And it's opening up some really exciting avenues for research. And it gets even weirder, right? The Forbes article, it talks about how messing with this energy flow, that's what might cause some of those weird side effects from anesthesia.
Wait, really? So, like, the grogginess, feeling out of it after surgery, that's because of the microtubules?
That's what they're suggesting. If that's true, think about it. We could make way better anesthetics, less side effects, faster recovery.
Now, that would be huge.
Mm.
But back to the theory for a sec. They said something about testing it with, like, Bose-Einstein condensates. That's way over my head.
Yeah, it's getting pretty high level there. Basically, a BEC, it's a bunch of atoms cooled down to almost absolute zero. They get so cold, they start acting like one giant atom.
Okay, so we're talking crazy small, crazy cold. What's the point of doing that? How does it connect to Orch OR?
Well, the theory says that gravity might be involved in all this, like how those quantum things we talked about, how they choose a state, gravity might be influencing that.
Hold on. Gravity, as in the Earth's gravity, is affecting stuff inside our cells at the quantum level.
It's wild, right? But that's a key part of Orch OR. And BECs, they're super sensitive to gravity. So if we do the experiments right, we might be able to see if gravity is messing with these quantum effects inside microtubules.
So we might actually be able to test if consciousness is somehow linked to quantum stuff happening in our cells, all thanks to these microtubules.
It's a long shot, but yeah, that's the hope. And that's why this microtubule research is so groundbreaking. We thought they were simple, but they could hold the key to some of the biggest questions out there.
It's like we went looking for a lost sock and stumbled upon a whole new universe.
The best kind of discovery. And it shows how everything's connected, Biology, physics, maybe even philosophy. It's all in the mix.
It's almost too much to wrap your head around. But it's also really exciting. So where do we go from here? What are the next steps for researchers? What are the big mysteries left to solve?
Well, first off, we got to figure out how microtubules do what they do. This energy transfer, it shouldn't work that well, according to the old theories. Something weird is going on.
So more digging into the mechanics of it all.
Absolutely. And then there's the big one. Is Orch, or R, right? Can we prove that microtubules are involved in consciousness? And if they are, how does that even work?
Those are some big ifs.
No kidding. But think about the possibilities if it's true. And even if it's not, this research could lead to some amazing tech. Remember those super efficient solar panels? Microtubules might hold the key.
Okay, now that's something I can get behind. Solving the energy crisis, thanks to tiny tubes in our cells. It's a good headline.
Right. And in medicine, if we can understand how anesthesia affects microtubules, we could make better drugs, less side effects, faster healing.
It's amazing, really. We started with these tiny structures, and now we're talking about consciousness, the universe, new technologies. Who knew microtubules were so important? I mean, it really makes you think, doesn't it? All this from these tiny little tubes we never even knew about.
And that's just it, right? There's so much we don't know, but each little discovery, it's like opening a door to a whole new room.
And sometimes that room is full of even more doors. So for those of us who, let's be honest, aren't going to go run experiments on microtubules, what's the takeaway here?
I think it's this. If something so small, so seemingly insignificant can be this complex, this important, imagine what else is out there.
Right. It's like suddenly anything is possible. And maybe that's the exciting part.
Exactly. Keep asking questions, keep exploring. Who knows what we'll find next?
Well said. And on that note, I think we've done our deep dive for today. Thanks to everyone for joining us as always. And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.